With MerleFest 2019 being just around the corner, I was able to interview Evan of Mile 12 just after the release of his band's new album, City on the Hill, and I had a great interview. Listen on to see why I had to ask. I'm with I Had to Ask, and I'm here with Evan from Mile 12. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I know you guys have just released a new album, City on the Hill. Would you like to tell my listeners a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. City on the Hill is our second full-length album, and it was recorded in Nashville in December of 2018 and just released on March 29th of 2019. It was engineered by Ben Surratt, who's just a wonderful engineer, and we worked out of his home studio, and it was produced by Brian Sutton, who's a hero, of all of ours, and he was just as great in the studio as a producer as you would think he would be. And it's 10 songs, and 2 of them are covers, and 8 of them are originals. And I think it sounds to me like what I want the band to sound like right now, which is exciting. Sounds like kind of a step forward for us,
Yeah, that is very exciting. So is there a funny story about making this album?
There actually is. I usually, if somebody asks me a question like that, a lot of times I feel like I don't have an answer. But there was, alright, this is kind of a convoluted story, but I'll try to make it quick. So there was this morning that the band was driving from Clovis, New Mexico to the Lubbock airport in Lubbock, Texas. And it was a really, really early morning. And we were all just super tired and out of it and driving through kind of desert almost, And Nate started singing this silly, made up country song that he was writing, it was called West Texas Morning. And he started singing it and making up lines. And we started writing this song, which is the stupidest song ever written. It's it starts out as this country song, but then it just veers into all these absolutely bizarre directions, and it's this just totally bizarre, convoluted story, and it doesn't make any sense. And we were all cracking up and kind of delirious. And when we were in the studio, we told Ben and Brian about this, and they decided that as the very last thing we did in the studio, we would record that song. So Brian Sutton, who's a legendary musician, and he's just finished producing this album over a week and a half, and we all go into the studio and he comes in with his guitar, and we play the stupidest song ever written, which is just this made-up country song, and Brian Sutton played on it. Now, I've never even heard the recording of it, and hopefully nobody ever will, because it's so ridiculous, but I was just shaking my head well, you've been probably dreaming of playing a song with Brian Sutton for years now, and the very first one that you're playing is this ridiculous made-up song that came out of your sleep-deprived brains. So that was I came home and just told my friends and parents, and I was well, I got to play with Brian Sutton, but they'll never guess on what song.
That's so funny. So what was the hardest part of making an album?
The hardest part of making an album for me is just getting out of my own way. When you go in to the studio, it's a really humbling experience, because I think live performance is pretty forgiving. If you're up on stage and you sing a note that's a little bit out of tune, or you play a wrong chord for a second on the guitar, or whatever, you make a little mistake, nobody notices, it's just over in an instant. But if you're in the studio, and you make a mistake, you're listening to it through thousands of dollars worth of microphones up close over and over again. So, your question is like, what's the hardest part? And I think for me, it's just like getting out of your own way and just playing the music, because the more you think about it and the harder you try to make something happen, like, the more you dig yourself into a hole, you know, and you just have to, like, release and just think, like, okay, I'm not going to get any better at the guitar, and I'm not going to get any better at singing in the next 10 minutes. I just am as good at those things as I am right now. So just relax and, like, play the song, you know?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I know you guys are on the road all the time. What is it like to just always be traveling and touring?
Well, we do keep really busy, but we actually do really try to be reasonable about the amount of time that we are on the road and not on the road. So, like, if you look at our schedule, we certainly have a lot of dates on there. Like, there's no question. I mean, we probably average about 120 dates a year, which is, you know, it's more than some bands and it's less than others, honestly. But you'll also notice anytime you look at our schedule that there are gaps, too. And we kind of have, like, you know, real conversations about, like, how long can people really be out on the road before we get back home. And we've decided as a band that getting longer than 2 weeks at a time is kind of like a little more than we like to handle. Now, sometimes we will do that if we have to. I mean, if we go to Australia and New Zealand, like, we're going to be over there for more than 2 weeks. But we actually don't go out on the road for much longer than a week and a half to 2 weeks at a time before we get a break. And that keeps everyone pretty sane, for the most part. I should be clear that we have a ton of fun when we're out on the road. It's some of my favorite memories and good times over the last, 4.5 years of the band have just been these wacky, unexpected moments out on tour. But it's also very tiring. And everyone just, at a certain point, just wants to get back home and kind of, like, reset. And so we really do try to be diligent about looking at the calendar and being like, okay, let's take that weekend off, or let's take that month off sometimes, you know?
Right. So I know that when you're not on the road, you sometimes teach private lessons. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
So, how do you like doing that?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, and it kind of varies from member to member. Like, I probably don't teach all that much compared to people like David or BB. You know, it kind of...
Right.
If you think about it, like, David has built up this real presence in the mandolin world. I mean, he's kind of like, a mandolin guru. And so a lot of mandolin students go to him. And BB is, like, one of the best-known banjo teachers in the Boston area. So anyone in this area who wants to study probably goes to her. I actually end up with people a lot of times who aren't even interested in bluegrass. They just want to play the guitar. So teaching isn't, like, not, like, so much what I do. I definitely enjoy doing lessons here and there, and especially enjoy going and doing, like, the camps sometimes at bluegrass festivals. But another thing that I'll try to do on the side is, like, play other gigs, like solo type shows and stuff like that. But being in a full-time band, obviously, it makes it kind of hard to do anything else on the side because we're spending so much time doing the band.
Right. So I know you guys are playing MerleFest, and I'm really excited because I'll be covering that. How do you feel about being able to play there this year?
Well, I mean, it's been kind of one of the, dream festivals for us since we got together. Like, we were thrilled when we got asked to play this year, and, we've been looking forward to it all year. I keep telling people about it because we've played plenty of festivals before where, if I tell a friend or something, they might not recognize any of the other acts, like, I'm like, oh, we're playing at this bluegrass festival with, like Special Consensus and the Traveling McCurries, and to me those people are like huge, but you know, if you just told any person on like the street, they might be like, who are those bands, you know? But at MerleFest, it's kind of crazy because it's become such a huge festival that it's like headliners are people like Brandy Carlisle and the Avett Brothers and stuff like that. And, you know, even though they're not traditional bluegrass, it's
right.
like I kind of can't believe that my little band is playing at a festival like with those people on the bill, you know. And I've just been a huge fan of Doc Watson for, you know, since I started playing bluegrass guitar, and I love not only his guitar playing and singing, but just his whole philosophy around, like, not even trying to define the music he was playing. You know, he didn't consider himself a bluegrass artist. He just considered himself a musician. And I don't know, I guess that's how I feel about myself sometimes, is like, I just play, you know, I just play what I play because I like it. And yeah, I mean, I think that this festival is just going to be one to remember. I'm pretty excited about it.
I am too. So if you could go back in time and give a younger you advice, what would you say?
I think the clear one would be start practicing the guitar earlier, because I didn't really get serious about playing the guitar until I was like 18 or 19, which isn't, you know, like super late, but like Bronwyn, our fiddle player, started playing fiddle when she was 3. So maybe if I could go back to my 3-year-old self, I would tell myself to play the guitar. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that mostly I might just tell myself to try to enjoy things as they come a little bit more, even when they're hard. And I feel like I still have to tell myself that now. It's like a lot of things about being a full-time musician are kind of tricky, you know, and trying to like make enough money and trying to make your schedule work and trying to stay in love with the music even when you play it all the time professionally. It's like all those things are tricky, but I'm trying to like also enjoy it at the same time, you know, and not just like kind of be moving blindly through it without appreciating it. So I guess that's what I'd tell myself then and now, you know.
That makes a lot of sense. That's great advice. So I was wondering, what kind of music are you currently listening to on your Spotify or wherever you listen to music?
Yeah, that's a good question. The main kind of thing that I'm listening to now is, which anyone who spends any time with me would know because I talk their ear off about it, is Jason Isbell. Are you familiar with him? Do you listen to much of him?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the first person to notice that he's like one of the best songwriters in the business right now, just in kind of Americana in general. I absolutely love his songwriting. I love what he's doing. And he has also kind of led me into other artists who he's associated with, you know, like Brandy Carlisle, who, you know, they're both share Dave Cobb as a producer, so I've been listening to a lot of Brandy Carlisle. I love the new John Prine album. I've been listening a lot to that. And I don't know, I'm trying to stretch myself out and listen to, you know, more slightly pop style stuff, you know, like Casey Musgraves and, you know, Maggie Rogers, you know, like just not even stuff that's like all that far out, but, you know, like just trying to listen to some different stuff right now, you know.
So is there anything else you'd like to tell my listeners?
No, just that they, you know, should feel free to check out Mile 12 on Facebook's kind of the main platform that we use, you know, for sending updates about our shows and what we're doing. So definitely like following us on Facebook. And if you know, don't listen to physical CDs anymore, then just go on Spotify or iTunes and check out the new album, because even though, you know, Spotify is kind of a weird new technology that we're all getting used to, it actually helps musicians out a lot if their numbers on Spotify get higher. So you should feel free to use Spotify and listen to us on there.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Stay tuned for more coverage of MerleFest 2019, and thanks for listening to I Had to Ask.